Well, what do we have here? Again, this goes in accordance to what I've been screaming about for the past few months. The rules of today, there's no rules. The content continues because the foolishness continues. Let's talk about this teacher babe. She's pretty much caught the whole internet world by storm. I'm sure many of you will agree she's an attractive young woman, a teacher at that. So coming up, teachers didn't look like this. Usually the teachers were middle-aged, late 50s, possibly 60s, overly dressed most likely, because that was the dress code during the 80s and 90s. You may have had one or two teachers that kind of bucked the system, so to speak, and maybe showed a little cleavage or wore something a little tight. But the bodies weren't embodying like they are now. The vast majority of women back then, young women at that, didn't look like this. Now this is a tricky one because most people are saying, you know, she can't leave her body at home. And that's true. And I can only assume, just based on her ethnicity, that this is natural. Of course, in this era, a lot of black women are now getting artificial parts added to give them that little oomph. So the legs might be as skinny as a toothpick, but the hips are as wide as a football field, courtesy of BBLs and all this fat ingestion going on. Her outfits aren't terrible here. They're not bad at all. Maybe a smidgen too tight. Again, this goes in accordance to what I've been screaming about for the past few months. The rules of today, there's no rules. There used to be a dress code when I was in elementary school, 4th, 5th grade, especially when the summertime came. Girls, guys were going through puberty, and of course girls have a little up top. And there used to be a rule, once the weather warmed up, girls were not allowed to wear tank tops. Now, I don't know if those rules still apply today, but they were enforced because you wanted to protect your children. What's the difference here? Now, of course, she's going to get a pass because young boys that get a chance to holler at her are going to see her as a trophy, as a reward of some sorts. Yo, I bagged Mrs. Johnson. I don't know her name. Forgive me for not knowing her name, but I bagged Mrs. Johnson. That's gonna earn you points with your boys. That's what it does on that end. If we flip the roles right now, and this was a male who was just coming to school, with a tight muscle shirt, just something that accentuated his physique, it's a different ball game. Rules need to be enforced here. Again, I don't think there's anything entirely wrong with her outfit, but I think it's okay for there to be rules within the Board of Ed. As a woman, yeah, you might feel singled out. I totally understand. You guys have boobs, you guys have hips, totally get it. But then what do we do? Because in this world, in this over-sexualized generation, where pretty much everyone has access to the same thing, courtesy of their cell phones. Boys are walking around here at 15, 14 years old with a good chance to holler at Miss Jackson. They may have a shot because they've been exposed to a lot of pornography. They've been exposed to a lot of things just on the internet. They may have an advantage compared to, say, when I was coming up, or somebody who was born in the 70s and 60s who, only had access to magazines and maybe HBO, maybe Cinemax. Maybe one of their cousins or friends hooked them up with some type of X-rated material from Blockbuster. We didn't have much access, so you were kind of learning on the go. Again, there may have been a 14, 15, 16-year-old very experienced sexually back in the day, but it wasn't what it is now. You have 9 and 10-year-olds out here with cell phones, with smartphones, where if their parents aren't paying close attention, the of sex is at their disposal. So it gives them that extra oomph to holler at a grown woman. You know, when I was 11, 12 years old, I had a crush on my 5th grade teacher. Absolutely did. In high school, I had a crush on my Spanish teacher. But I didn't think I had a chance. Not at all. Because you figured, you know, what does she want with a measly 16-year-old? Wet behind the ears, no facial hair, 180 pounds or whatever I was back then. What does she want with me? What can I give to her? These dudes nowadays have a world of confidence. I see it in the gym. I see it in various places. You know, all this riz. They feel like they can bag a 26-year-old teacher. I never thought that when I was 16. And again, I don't know this teacher bae's age. She looks like she could be late 20s, possibly early 30s. You just never know with a lot of makeup these days, but she's in good shape. And I'm sure this is a confidence booster, but something has to be done. Like, you shouldn't be allowed to come to school like this in that position of leadership. These young boys are exposed to this on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok 24/7. Now they get to come to school and see someone like that. You can't, you'd be a fool to miss a day. I'd be in school every day of the week. I'd be early to class. I'm trying to tell you, if I was growing up in this era, because you feel like you got a shot. And again, I'm not condoning it. I think it's wrong both ways, but of course, like I said, she's going to get a pass. What can be done in a situation like this? How do you tell a woman how to dress when she's technically dressed appropriately? I don't see anything that's showing ass. I don't see anything that's showing her cleavage. It's just fitted. If you tell women of today to wear certain clothing in the workforce, it's going to create all types of movements, unfair treatment. Everyone's going to be protesting. So how do you enforce the rules to women, to young women at that, who are, you know, a few years removed from maybe their college years? They're feeling confident. They got a nice paying job, perhaps. How do you, what do you do? How do you tell women to dress with loose clothing? Is that going to be received well? Because again, if you're 15, 16, 17 going to school and you see someone like this every day, that's your science teacher, your history teacher. I mean, what's going to stop a young man of today from hollering? Back then, you might have had one or two people that may have, you know, flirted a little bit, but most of the times the teacher was going to tell you, nah, you're a young kid. You might even get reported to the principal. These young women now, they seek the validation. This is what social media has done. I'm sorry. Again, this is not saying women didn't dress provocatively back in the day, but the validation, because I'm sure on her page, the comments and the amount of emoji eyes and hearts from students, adults, I'm sure is at an all-time high. When she goes on her IG and just scrolls and sees all the fire emojis, imagine, she already knows she can bag any age group from let's say 15 to 65. Imagine having a window such as that where you can get attention from teenagers, young adults, 30 and up, mid-age, senior citizens. That's a wide range. The game's not fair, man. The game is not fair. The women have won this war. They've won it. Social media has allowed women to win this war of the sexes. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how you look. It doesn't matter what profession you're in. Women have won this war. All it took was social media.